light shines upon the streets. I stroll along the road with caution as the meth heads scurry into their disused shopping trolleys. Yes, hello, Joe. Before long, I reach my destination, a seemingly abandoned cuboid building. I draw up to the door, an ordinary door with plain panel features but a daring yellow glow through the cracks in the edge. I grasp the handle, turn the latch, and as it opens, a stunning glare strikes me in the face. The room is enormous, lit by 1,000 candles, walls 30 feet high, marble statues, and one gigantic chandelier. It was full of beautiful women and men dancing gaily to the hit rock charts of the 70s, so much better than today. Couples pranced and jumped around with heightened excitement, for it was Paranoid by Black Sabbath. Fucking yes! They were overjoyed, as was I. Even the goths raised their lighters on their scabbard hands. It was not my first time here, for this place did great drinks deals on Tuesdays, and it was always full of sexy, brooding metal chicks. On previous occasions, however, there was one lady who I only saw swift but defined glimpses of. And she was sensational. So while I wasted no time in downing pint cocktails and throwing myself into the mosh pit, I couldn't help but constantly glance over my shoulder and search for that elusive beauty. Then, more sudden than I could anticipate, there she was across the room. I maintained my gaze, and sure enough, she stayed in my sights. I had a lot of anticipation for this moment, and she did not disappoint. Black suited her so well. It had a bold and striking image, yet withheld all the sensual mystery for some exuberant little driven mag. As I stare, my heart burns with the bitter rage of 1,000 torn lovers, bearing the mustardy discharge of their infidelity. Heartily gorgeous demeanour could only be outweighed by its seemingly magnetic cleavage, fine bone structure, elegant posture, and an arse reminiscent of two space hoppers shoved in a miniskirt. For as long as I live, I shall never forget her 2-foot-high faux leather boots, cherry red lips, and nipple tassels. I advanced across the room. As I got closer, I noticed myself moving slow. One glance at my right hand and I knew I was shaking. As I glanced back up, suddenly there she was, right in front of me, staring me down like a cake. She reaches out her hand and strokes my cheek as my mighty erection is discreetly tucked between my thighs. All I can think of is how her clothes wrap so tightly around her curves. How the light gleams off her eyes and pierces my chest, leaving me breathless. I swallowed my pride and said it. Madam, you are divine. You inspire a great longing and desire within me. If not in this life, then perhaps my love will shine and reign within my heart for eons and eternity. Will you be mine tonight? As she looks at me in the eyes, she says, the going rate is 180 quid, but I don't charge extra for anal. Her words plunged through my soul like a harpoon and expanded as wide as the night sky, and spread sparkles ever more dazzling and radiant. I was so on. We dash across the dance floor as Rob Halford's voice set those ravers into sexual disorientation. Up a flight of stairs, round a corner, she shoves me into a laundry cupboard. Blankets and duvets fall all over as she crawls in on top of me. She puts her hand down my trousers and squeezes my boobies. I put my hand on her top and pinch her nips. 1, 2, 3. She grabs my limbs and folds me into a position that I could never have guessed existed. Her ankles on my neck, my elbows on her hips, and my knees behind my back. I decided not to ask questions. Over the following minutes, the tremors we made could only be comparable to the eruption of Krakatoa itself, or an extra hard spin cycle. I feel myself about to come, but suddenly, all vision blurred and all sounds became a haze, and I reached out to my beloved. But it was too late. I awoke the next morning, in a pale and sticky daze. And it was in that moment that I decided to never buy meth from Joe behind Morrison's again. The smile of a beautiful woman. Is there anything on earth more devastating? Are you ready for the second half of the show? Yeah! Well, fuck me with both fists if it isn't our next act. Which it is. Now, our next act is a magician. So ladies and gentlemen, prepare to stare in disbelief as he makes his own career vanish before your very eyes. I've always been very fond of that accent, he's absolutely marvellous, don't you think? Do you want to shake? Do you want to shake? Just have a shake. See? So, he's armless. Okay. We're going to bring on your next act for the... We're going to bring on the next act for you then. Now we're going to bring on the next act to stage. He's been with us since we started doing this in 2010. He was really the only one of us with any talent at that time. He's pretty much the only one of any left. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage, Son! As the sun set over the Southampton dock and the land withdrew into darkness, a small discreet house party of jubilant atmosphere and admirable boozing was in full swing. I was graciously invited to partake in merriment of the highest order. We drank, we smoked, we talked, and it was fabulous. One lady caught my eye quite consistently and made my shy and observant manner titillate with excitement at the prospect of making her acquaintance. A charming smile, a curvaceous body, and tight but not too revealing clothing. She was, in a word, exquisite. In 2 words, fucking exquisite. I couldn't bring myself to talk to her, not just yet. I decided to seek out my hosts. I found them very soon in a bedroom. 3 of them sat around in adequate comfort and excellent company. 3 of my most hardened friends. A metalhead. An anarchist. And a guy from Stockport. Before long, the anarchist removed from his pocket a pouch of whitish powder and proceeded to make fine lines upon a DVD case of Phoenix Nights. They each took their turn, and finally myself. At this time, I had not partaken of this experience before. I have since, but not before this one. The initial shock was quite repugnant, but soon settled into a mild intoxication. It was at that moment that the metalhead handed me a full but untied balloon. Careful not to release the gas inside, I raised it to my lips and inhaled, and exhaled, and inhaled, and exhaled, and inhaled, until suddenly it produced some vibrational force of euphoric pleasure. The only way I can describe it would be like a ping pong ball. You know, sometimes when you play ping pong, the ball sort of goes askew and it bounces somewhere, and it bounces shorter and shorter and shorter still, until for a moment it's just a hazy, vibrating ping pong ball. I felt like that. May I address you directly? I don't wish to alarm you, I merely ask you a question. Take my hand, my child. Do you feel that it is fair for an individual to be held accountable for their actions whilst off their tits on ecstasy? Thank you very much, madam. I skipped about the party in high spirits, handing out lollipops that did not belong to me. The mystery girl appeared before me with intense power in her eyes. I couldn't move. She leaned forward and whispered in my ear. Shock me as if I owned you. I stared her right back in the face and said, I need you like a dandelion needs a summer breeze to spread my seed. On the wallpaper morphed into lips and chanted together, get in there, my son! Get in there, my son! We took each other by the hand as all details in the room smeared from vision and colours dominated us in a force field of gel. Huge jets of blood arced over us in graceful harmony as if ejaculated by the god of large penises. Massive claws of colour enveloped us both and then ripped us apart. She disappeared as if curtains descended around her. A grave opened up in the earth before me, luring me in with the aroma of Yorkshire puddings. But there were no Yorkshire puddings. When I awoke from these illusions, I was standing in the garden, leaning against the wall upon my forehead. I'd been there for 15 minutes, alone. She never approached me, and I never saw her again. I couldn't feel any more worthless than an Oxfam window. But as awful as that experience was, I do not regret it, and I'll tell you why. Because in those moments of life when our minds are at their most bleak, when our hearts are choked and our souls crushed, are those not the moments that define us as the most human? Apparently not. You may be wondering what the difference is between the story I've just told and the one from earlier. This one just here is true. Who here wants to know a secret about Robbie Fox? When he was born, he weighed 10 pounds 7 ounces. That is huge. The hospital gets about 3 of those a year. Many breeds of dog don't get that heavy. He was so big that his poor mother could not push him out herself. So the doctor drugged her up and got a big pair of forceps and dragged him out by his head. And just look what happened. Fuck it, I'll bring on the headline. We're ready for the headline act of the show! Yeah! Bring him on in just a moment. This is a man of strong values, radiant eyes, long flowing hair and slim thighs. He's an excellent